All right, so now we're going to work on solving equations. I have 4 that I'm going to work with you, and then I have 3 for you to practice on your own, okay? So they're just going to get increasingly harder, so just bear with me. So this is our first one. Go ahead and write it down. You are working these out on a sheet of paper. So the first thing I notice when I'm solving equations is I have to remember what my goal is. And my goal is to get the variable by itself. Okay? So, for example, I notice first off that I have 2 of the exact same variables. So I need to combine them together. So, one second. So when I have 2 of the same variables, I need to combine them. So if they're on the same side of the equal sign, which they are, notice they're both on the left side over here, I can just do whatever operation it tells me to do. So I have 4n minus 2n. So I just do a positive 4 minus 2, and I'm left with 2n equals, and then I just bring down my 4. Okay? So again, going back to my goal over here, we got to get the variable by itself. So I'm trying to get this n all by itself. Okay, so I start with a term that's farthest away. Well, in this case, it's just this 2 right here. So how do I get this times 2 away from my n? I divide by 2. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Okay, so those 2's cancel out, and I'm left with n equals a positive 2, because 4 divided by 2 and divided by 2 gives me 2. Okay, not bad. Moving on to the second one. Okay, take a second, write that one down. You may have to pause the video if I'm going too quick. All right, so first thing I notice, once again, my goal is to get variable by itself, but I have 2 variables, okay? Once again, they're on the same side of the equal sign, so we just do whichever operation splits them up. So this is an x minus 5x, because I have to use the sign that comes in front of my term. So 1x minus 5x, I just go to my calculator, 1 minus 5. We don't have to deal with the x's right now. It's going to give me a negative 4, so I need to simplify that over here. So I'm going to rewrite my problem, because I just combined those terms. So I have 3 equals, we just said 1 minus 5 was negative 4, so that's going to give us a negative 4x, and then we still have that plus 3. All right, so now I have one variable, it's my x. Okay, so my goal is to get the x by itself. So I have to start with my term that's farthest away, which is my plus 3. So how am I going to get rid of a plus 3? I have to do its inverse, because I'm having to move it to the other side of the equal sign. I'm going to subtract 3. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Okay, so show my little equal sign, those cancel. 3 minus 3, 3 minus 3, I get 0 equals negative 4x. Okay, once again, my goal is to get this x all by itself, so I have to get rid of this times negative 4. How do I get rid of a times negative 4? I divide it by negative 4. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. My negative 4's cancel out. I have 0 divided by negative 4. 0 divided by negative 4 equals 0. And all I'm left with is my x over here. So x equals 0. All right, not too bad. And again, this is a video. Go back and watch it as many times as you need to if it's confusing. All right, next one. All right, this time I see that I only have one variable, so I don't have to combine any like terms right off the bat. But I also notice that I have a parentheses. So I have to remember what that's called when I have a number right outside of a parentheses. I have to do the distributive property, which says you take the number on the outside and multiply it by everything on the inside, okay? And you only do what's on the inside of the parentheses. I wouldn't also multiply this negative 36. You just do what's inside the parentheses, okay? So I have negative 3 times a positive 4. So negative 3 times positive 4, I do it in my calculator, I get a negative 12. So I get a negative 12, bring down my variable. All right, this is the part where you really need to pay attention. I have a negative 3 times a negative 8. Negative 3 times negative 8, you get a positive 24. All right, if you do every single thing else correctly, you're going to get the wrong answer if you make that a negative 24. Okay, so you have to pay attention to what those signs are. All right, and then I just bring down my negative 36, and it looks like the rest of my problems. My goal is to get my variable by itself. So I start with my term that's farthest away. So how do I get rid of a positive 24? Subtract it. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. My 24s cancel out, and I have negative 12r equals, that's negative 36 minus 24. Negative 36 minus 24, and I get negative 60. Okay, I'm not done yet because my r is still not by itself. That's negative 12 times r. So how do I get that r by itself? I divide it by negative 12. I do that to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Okay, so my 12s are going to cancel out, and I'm left with r equals, I have negative 60 divided by negative 12. Negative divided by negative is going to make it a positive 5. Okay, take a second, look over that, make sure you understand all the steps. The last one that I'm going to be doing with you before you practice on your own is this one. So of course I've picked a little bit of a harder one. Once again, it's all the same steps that we just did. All right, first thing I notice is I have multiple terms with k. But before I can even deal with that, I have to deal with this parentheses. I have to deal with that 2 in front of my parentheses. Okay, I have to do the distributive property first before I can combine like terms. Okay, so we know how to do distributive property. That's a positive 2 times 5k and a positive 2 times a negative 6. So I'm going to bring everything else down. Negative 4k. So I have positive 2 times a positive 5. All right, that gives me positive 10k. I have a positive 2 times a negative 6. That gives me a minus 12, and everything on the other side is just going to stay the same. All right, distributive property is done. Now I need to combine like terms. Okay, once again, I have terms that are the same on one side, and I have terms that are the same on the other side. Okay, you have to combine the ones on the same side first. So I have to deal with that one first. So when they're on the same side, we just do whatever operation it tells us to in between them. Okay, so that's negative 4 plus 10, which is 6. So I have 6k minus 12 equals negative 3k. Nope. minus 39. Okay, I still have like terms, but this time they're on different sides of my equal sign. So in order to move something to the other side of my equal sign, I have got to remember inverse operations. Okay, that's the only way you can move something from one side of your equal sign to the other side. Okay, so once again, it doesn't matter, but I like to keep my stuff positive. So I'm going to take this negative 3k and move it over here. So I'm going to add 3k, add 3k. That's going to cancel those out. So I have 6k plus 3k. So 6 plus 3 gives me 9. So I have 9k minus 12 equals, that all canceled. So I'm left with negative 39 over here. All right, and the way this is set up now is we had to do all of this first in order for it to look like a regular equation, okay? So that's why it's so important to remember all of those steps, okay? So going back to our goal, get the variable by itself. We do that by starting with term farthest away, okay? So I have a times 9 and I have a minus 12. We're going to do this minus 12 first. So how do I get rid of a minus 12? I add 12. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. Those will all cancel out. So I'm left with 9k equals, I have a negative 39 plus 12. Okay, so that leaves me with a negative 27. I'm almost finished. My goal is to get that k by itself, which it's still not. I still have this times 9 with it. So in order to get rid of times 9, I'm going to divide by 9. Those 9's cancel, and I'm left with k equals negative 27 divided by 9, and that equals negative 3. All right, I know I went fast on those, but you can watch this unlimited times and pause and try to work it yourself. All right, the last ones I have put on here for you. Let me zoom out so you can see. Okay, go ahead and take some time, write those 3 problems out. I've provided the answers for you to check, okay, so that you can make sure. If you are getting the wrong answer, you need to check on where you distributed this number outside of the parentheses each time, and make sure you have the right sign first. Okay, that's where you should always start, is that if you wrote a positive or a negative correctly. Next, I've noticed a lot of y'all mess up right here where you start with the term that's farthest away. Make sure you did that. Okay, so take a second, pause the video, work through those, and then come back and I'm working through them with you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm just going to work through them. I'm not going to talk through each one, so this is just for you to check your work. Okay, so here are all the problems worked out. You can pause the video and check your work to see how you did, okay? All right, obviously if you have any more questions, please make note of those and then ask me either before class or during my prep, which is 5th period. Take a picture, send an email to me, whatever you need to do. Hopefully this is helping y'all. Make sure you're doing the study guide, and yeah, good luck.